Hey, good evening, folks. I'm here today with Heidi Lepke from Shemaya Tantra. We're going to talk about life hacks, we're going to talk about intimacy hacks and the power of mind-body connection. I'm coming to you here today. My name is Oris Wozdeski, and I have a business called Oris Wozdeski International. I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, and I am the workshop leader of the Rise Up Empowerment Program. Heidi is a tantric teacher, and she's an intimacy embodiment coach. We're here to talk about the intimacy hacks and the power of mind-body connection and how that sort of rolls out in her upcoming workshop on June 8th from 10 until 4:30 in the afternoon here in Edmonton at the Spirit Path Studio up on 124th Street in Edmonton.
Tantra 101.
Tantra 101.
You got it.
But she is allowing couples to come.
Yes, it's for individuals or couples.
Nice.
Anyone who wants to take their intimacy to the next level.
Nice. And fellas, we might even talk about the V word today. That's right. Vulnerability.
But we're not going to start there. We want to ease in slowly. We wouldn't do that to
you. Nice. Okay, so I guess just to get started then, Heidi, we'll just ask you the question, the brass tacks of it all. Why do people come to this Tantra 101 for Individuals course?
You know, I have sometimes someone comes up to me and says, I've got this pattern going on in my life, and it feels like over and over, the person that I want to attract, I'm repelling, and the person that I want to repel is like coming all up in my space. And why is this happening? It's the opposite of what I want. And one of the things that I see, and I've been through this myself, is oftentimes we want someone out there to come and give us everything that we're missing in our life. And so one of the solutions to that, the really only core solution that I've personally found, is you got to look at, what kind of person do I really want to attract? What are the traits of that person? Is that person grounded in their body and grounded in their truth? Or is that person kind of always captured by monkey mind and always running after the next shiny thing and not really centered? And so whatever that person's looking for, I have to become that.
Right.
And so in the workshop, we learn techniques to find that delicious core in yourself, I like to call it. To find yourself connected to all parts of your being. Like, we're not just a mind walking around in a meat suit. This body has its own brain. I just learned that today from Oris.
Yes, indeed. It's the size of a cat brain.
Our gut has its own brain and its own wisdom. And our body is something that we think of as a tool, but it's actually got its immense amount of intelligence. And so tapping into that intelligence is going to help us to make decisions that are aligned on all of our levels and help us to become a more wholly integrated person. Because when I'm operating from my mind only, I'm operating at like 1/4 or 1/8 Heidi. And who out there, that's my dream.
Well, come on, you're better
partner.
than the average bear a little bit, man. It's probably more like a third. I'd give it a third.
A third? Okay. Yeah. All right. But does my dream person want someone who's operating at 1/3 capacity? Nuh-uh. No. They want someone who's firing on all cylinders. So I got to get myself there first.
Yes. Yeah, the mysteries of getting aligned in the body with the mind so that we can actually open up that sort of other than conscious place of mind or that super conscious mind so that we can feel the depth of that alignment and really in the delicious core that you talked about, right? And then applying that into showing up and being present with a woman on a date, or showing up and being present with my woman when we're being intimate with one another. Yeah. And the juiciness that comes from that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Justin, Darren, Tim, Trish, Mike, and James. Thank you for being here. Has anyone ever experienced that dynamic where you're like, it's backwards. I'm attracting all these people that I don't want. And whenever I get attracted to someone, it's almost like this magical, mysterious force is pushing them away from me. if anyone's experienced that and you're courageous enough to admit it, you can put it in the comments for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, just along those same lines, I hear from guys all the time. They're talking to me about that very thing, but they're framing it in the sense of, you know, I don't know what it is, man. I keep drawing to me all these messed up women, right? And I never used to say anything, but now I'll actually throw a little challenge out there and ask guys, are you just looking at disowned parts of your own self that they're mirroring back to you? Or are these women really messed up? So,
you know, that's a funny point, because it's really easy to become enlightened sitting in a cave alone, because there's no one around to point out your deficiencies and your faults and the unpolished corners of your diamond. So having other people as a mirror is the fastest way to owning all those parts of yourself. And in the workshop, we get to actually sit in front of another person and witness and be witnessed, and have them reflect the part of us that maybe needs a little more attention, maybe hasn't fully blossomed. You know, and a great example of that is in the polarity work.
yes.
So sitting in front of different people, you know, if I'm exploring my feminine energy and you're exploring your masculine energy, if I sit in front of you, there's a certain part of me that comes alive. And it's different than the part that comes alive when I'm sitting in front of the next person. And so even if you're in a couple, coming to a group workshop environment like this will often highlight a part of yourself, of your own feminine or masculine energy that has been sort of hidden away for a while. You might have this aha moment of, whoa, I didn't know I had that aspect to my femininity. And then you get to take that home to your partner.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Carling and Janelle and Kirk, wow, great to see you all. We're talking about intimacy hacks and the power of mind-body connection.
Along those lines, actually, I'm curious, when people show up there, what are some of the fears that they're coming with?
Well, I found that the T word carries certain connotations with it. So this is a Tantra workshop, which sometimes sparks these like ideas of grand, you know, orgies, or you're gonna walk in the door and take off all your clothes and sit in someone's lap and
gaze deeply into their eyes.
Yeah. And actually, there are workshops out there that do that, and they might be really beneficial. This workshop doesn't. This is a fully clothed workshop, and we're gonna work with sexual energy and the power of sexual energy, but we're going to learn how deep this concept is. Sexual energy does not equal sex. Sexual energy is that raw, potent life force, that eros that moves through your whole system, that animates how you show up at a work meeting, that animates, you know, how you cook the food that you're making, that allows you to create bigger and more ambitious projects every single year. So we'll learn, you know, how to use that sexual energy in lovemaking, but actually how to use it 24 hours a day and what it's good for. It's good for a lot.
Nice, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the idea of the concept of sublimating our energy from the sort of the lower energy centers up into our heart, or up into our, you know, our throat, or up into our third eye, just visioning things or things that we need to verbalize. Or
yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because another kind of challenge that I often hear is this, and see if this resonates with any of you at all. But you know, you're walking through your day and something kind of sexually activates you. You know, maybe it's an attractive person, maybe it's a memory, and you feel like overcome by this, and suddenly you feel like this really overwhelming need to release. And it's like you can't think about anything else. It's like, I just need to release this energy. It's like I can't think clearly, I can't act clearly. I might be in a public place and I don't feel it's appropriate to be feeling this, or maybe I've got something important to do and I can't because I'm like stoned on this sexual activation. So what you just mentioned is like the key to that.
Yes, it is, yeah. Learning
to be able to tap into that sexual force and then direct it. So it doesn't actually have to stay pooled kind of in your sex center, plaguing you with its desperate need for release. You can actually change the energy of that. And transmutation is the technical tantric term, if we want to get nerdy about it.
Okay, yes, let's get dirty.
Okay, we're getting nerdy
We're
here.
not getting dirty, we're getting nerdy,
okay? Yes. So you can actually just learn to circulate that energy through your body. And we'll learn some tools and techniques to move that through your whole system and to start to learn how to channel it into something. Like, let's say you're at work and this happens. This could throw you off your game, or this could allow you to become much more clear to access your insight and your intuition in a more powerful way, and show up in a way that dominates the room in a place from your core, not this kind of fake domination, but just like that, like, I'm connected to my power and you're going to listen to what I say.
Yeah, like that warrior energy that's ready for action, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
So what else? I mean, there's so many reasons that people are drawn to Tantra. And another reason is that sometimes we feel like things should feel good, but they don't necessarily feel good in the body. Or maybe it's happening during sex. Or maybe you realize going through your day that you feel good like 15% of the time or less. And you want to feel good more like 80% of the time. And a lot of that is connected to our mind-body connection. So if I'm walking through life and I'm existing only in my mind, connecting with me is going to have a certain level of superficiality. There's going to be maybe some sensation, maybe we can make love or maybe we can have a conversation. But if I'm going through life and I'm connected to myself, not just at the mind, but also at the body level, and I'm firing on all cylinders, suddenly I'm much more interesting to be around. And in the bedroom, cool stuff happens.
Nice.
So
accessing the forces, indeed. Yeah.
So yeah, it's accessing the force within you. There's a way when I'm connected to my body, my mind, my spirit, all of that this kind of erotic force can be unleashed. And I love the example we were just chatting about off camera before, about, if you've ever done drugs, you don't have to put this in the comments, we won't tell. But you remember that feeling when you did, maybe you were getting high in some way, and suddenly you could feel everything around you. Like all of your senses were heightened. It's like suddenly the air itself had texture.
Yeah, even on my fingers, I had that, like when Spider-Man's little hairs come up and they're real sticky, like superpower sort of sensation on the hands. Yeah. Yes,
that. So if you've ever experienced that through drugs, and you feel so alive, like every single pore in your body, every single cell feels alive. This is kind of the feeling that you can get naturally through Tantra. And when you're making love from this place, it's this very up-leveled experience. You're experiencing it in your whole body. You're experiencing it in your soul. And it's the kind of sex that kind of knocks you on your butt for a few hours after. You're like, what just happened? Or you might feel catapulted into this really blissful state. And sometimes it lasts for a while. So this all comes back to connecting the mind and body. Yes. And that's a big part of what we're going to go into on Saturday.
You know what was an interesting piece of the conversation before we came on camera was talking about the idea of experiencing all of this, just this beauty and this bliss and this connection and all this energy inside of ourselves. And especially, I heard it now in the last week a couple times from a few different women where they talked about they were able to go into this place and they had this pleasurable experience. But at some point they thought, like, oh my God, like, I gotta kind of shut that down a little bit. It's like we've been programmed to be like, you know what, like I can't experience full bliss. I have to put a cap on it. Or what was also expressed was that they had this blissful experience to the max and allowed themselves to go there. And then later the next day woke up feeling like, oh my God, so guilty and filled with shame and all this stuff. And it's like, whoa, man.
The pleasure hangover.
The pleasure hangover, exactly right.
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know if any of you watching have experienced this. I certainly have. And it's like when we break out of that template that we've been operating under and we experience a new level of pleasure, it's common that soon afterwards, we shut down in some way. There's all this guilt that comes in because we've been imprinted with, okay, there's this thing called pleasure. It's kind of a dirty word. You know, you see it in sex shops, you know, you immediately think of porn sometimes, and you're allowed to have it, but only this much, you know, only a certain amount, and only behind closed doors. And a lot of what I stand for and what I want to share with people is that pleasure, it's yours. You know, the external world, the culture that we're in, the way that you were raised, your lineage does not determine the amount of pleasure that you deserve to have. And pleasure is not something that only happens when you have a partner or yourself pleasuring yourself in a sexual sense. This is something that is alive and there for you to access any time of the day. You can be walking through your day 90% of the time in pleasure. You know, you can be sitting there doing a Facebook Live and just noticing how the fingers of your hand are touching your leg and feeling so much pleasure from that. Feeling pleasure from the food, savoring every single bite.
Yes.
Pleasure from working. And a lot of why we can't feel this is we've been desensitized, or our pleasure container is just so small.
That's right, yeah.
We have these kind of capacities for pleasure. And oftentimes if we break through, if we have more pleasure than our small container can handle, that's when we feel the guilt. Sometimes, you know, if you're on a tantric path, you might have heard of full body orgasms or multiple orgasms for men. That's a thing. Yes, it is. And to access that, it's a practice of enlarging your container. Where did you think I was going with that?
Nice.
So we have to enlarge our container to hold more pleasure. And oftentimes, if we're making love, there's sometimes this feeling of, okay, I'm maxed out, and you might have felt your body stiffen a little bit. You might have felt all your muscles getting tight, and you just feel like, okay, I have to release this right now. And it's almost an energy of pushing out that happens. And that's an invitation to hold up just a little bit more pleasure, you know, to strengthen those pleasure muscles a little bit more. And then something really cool happens. The next time you're in that situation and you feel like, okay, this is my max, and you relax just a little bit, pause and just relax your hips, you know, relax your glutes. And you might find that you can hold on a little bit longer before you have an orgasm. And that when you finally do, that it's got a different quality, a deeper quality to it. And
the depth of connection you can experience in that moment when you do pump the brakes and just look at your partner in their eyes. Like it's seeing inside of them somehow, right? Yeah. And that's actually regulating both of your nervous systems to be able to have a bigger bandwidth or a bigger capacity to experience that pleasure inside your body and the level of that depth and the connection, so that you don't go into this place of like I need to shut it off, or I need to shut down from my partner. Yeah. And so here comes the V word, right? The vulnerability, right?
Let's go there. Yeah. And actually, before we do, I just had this flash of something a friend shared with me, and it was a graph. And it's this graph, pie chart. So one whole area is things you know, and another area is things that you don't know, things that you know you don't know. And then the vast majority of the pie chart is things that you don't know you don't know. And sometimes, you know, I chat with people about intimacy, and Urs has a great question. Around this.
I was just thinking it actually. It's like, do you know what your biggest problem with intimacy is? You don't even know you have a problem with intimacy.
Bam. There it is.
Exactly right. Yeah.
There it is.
Hey, fellas, we're talking to you and me.
There's a couple.
Nice.
Yes. So back to vulnerability. Vulnerability. What to say about that?
Drop down, wait for it, take a breath.
Yeah. It's rare in life that we actually sit in front of a person and see them and take the time to actually see them, not for who they mean to us, not the role that they play in our life. and not who we expect them to be,
Mm-hmm.
but who they actually are in their fullness.
Nice.
And to allow yourself to be seen without any walls, without any masks, without your elevator pitch. That's pretty vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, fully de-armored, right?
yes. Yep. And that vulnerability is a gateway to tantric bliss. So
Nice.
the V word is something worth pursuing, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes.
I love it when I love it even outside of like intimate exchange with like a girlfriend partner relationship dynamic, but just the level of vulnerability and intimacy that happens just with colleagues or with really good friends that I have when we have those discussions about things that really matter to us.
Yeah, and it feels soul to soul, not mind to mind.
Yes, yes, yes. And that actually somehow allows us to align with that higher mind and that conceptual mind and the mind of the body. They all come into unison and alignment, and then we're into what you call, your delicious core concept. We're into that delicious core, and we're talking about this rich thing, and there's almost like there's this fullness to it that's just visceral, right? You can feel it when you're in it. You know that it makes you alive, and you're so present. You're not distracted by the phone or by the whatever, anything. You're just right there.
You know what it's like is like you're watching black and white television for your whole life, and then suddenly you got like the brand new HD. I don't know what the pixels are at these days, but maximum pixels. The difference between watching your black and white to this brand new pixelated TV, and suddenly there's so much definition, there's so much texture, there's so much fullness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So we could go on and talk forever, but if you've got any questions, go ahead or comment in the comments below. And I'd like to share a little maybe about what's going to happen on Saturday.
Sure. Before you do that, I just want to say this. If you have a comment about something that you took away from this conversation that's of value, please feel free to share in the comment box beside the video and all the areas that it's posted.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always beautiful to have that feedback.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's happening this Saturday?
All right. So not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tantric Speed Dating.
Tantric Speed Dating.
A whole other event. And next Saturday is Tantra 101.
Tantric Speed Dating is the gateway drug, okay?
Yeah. Usually that's where it all starts.
That's right.
Yes. So if you are coming to Tantric Speed Dating tomorrow, I'm excited to see you there. And if you are also coming on the 8th or thinking about coming, it's a workshop designed to help you access everything that we've talked about today. And we're going to explore the concept of self-sovereignty. You'll get to work with another to practice feeling into your own body wisdom, and then acting on that and stepping and holding your power. We'll learn a little bit more about tantric orgasms and this whole world out there. Who knew there were so many types of orgasms? And talk about some of the ways to access that. And one thing that I really love in this class is the different way that chakras are taught. So you might have watched a YouTube video on chakras and seen the different colors and, okay, this one means that one means this. But on Saturday, we're actually going to have a deep experiential relationship with each one of them. And you'll see how it actually applies in your whole day and get a very tangible way to relate to the chakras. And a big topic is polarity. So what exactly is masculine and feminine energy, and how does this impact the partner that I attract, how successful I am at my job, and how connected to my delicious core I feel in every moment. Yeah.
One of my really big takeaways from the workshop when I took it in the past was there's discussion. The container that's created in the workshop is very safe, and people are having, conversations that might otherwise seem taboo or whatever. And we're, exploring different concepts and stuff. And there's discussion about boundaries, right? And the thing that I really, really loved was being able to not only intellectually understand about a boundary, but to energetically understand my boundaries, because I had been aligned within the body's intelligence, within my mind and my higher self, coming into alignment and being present and feeling people's energies through the exercises and getting a better sense of my energetic boundaries and an understanding of what that's about. That was a really big takeaway for me, because it's, I think boundaries in my mind, and that sort of means a certain thing and it shows up a certain way, but energetically to know where my boundaries are, that was powerful for me.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between a boundary and a barrier.
Exactly right.
That's something that I've used from Brene Brown. She quoted it like that, and I just love it. And so it's a very subtle thing, and it actually makes us feel intact. If we have no boundaries, it's not that we're just open-hearted, loving people. It's that we don't have a separateness or a uniqueness. And so without boundaries, you can't create something big in the world. You can't be something big in the world, because you're part of the goo, the goo of the world. You're not like rising up as your unique self. Yeah. So there's so much more to share. There's so much more that happens. We'll talk about what is Tantra, because often it's just associated with sex. And while that's one of the very applicable parts of it, it's actually a spiritual practice.
Yes, it is.
Everything in Tantra is designed to raise our consciousness. And the cool thing about raising your consciousness is it comes along with some pretty cool side effects.
Indeed, it does. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that too.
And I like the link into, and I know that maybe you don't talk about it that much necessarily, but the link into the neurobiology of our brain and how that affects our nervous system, and how Tantra is actually a path that just models that in every way. The regulation, the dysregulation, coming back into when we're in connection with somebody, how we're operating as one nervous system. And so when we feel an energetic shift or a fluctuation, to understand that within our partner, something's gone on for them, and we can sense that, and we can, if we have the skills that we'll learn in these types of trainings, we can actually verbalize that, and we can get some clarity and some definition about whatever's going on, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Yeah.
Again, Heidi Lepke from Shemaya Tantra. She's a Tantra teacher. She's an intimacy embodiment coach. Lots of great events coming up. Tomorrow, Tantric Speed Dating, June 8th, Saturday, June 8th, 10 to 4:30 over at the Spirit Path Studio. Is the Tantra 101 for individuals.
And couples.
And couples.
Yes.
Not to just emphasize individuals and couples. And
that's a good point, though. So we should probably tell people on the Facebook event, it says for individuals. And it means that you don't need a partner to attend. So if you have a partner and you'd like to explore these concepts, then you're welcome to bring them. There will be some couples in the course, but it's open to anyone who wants to explore their own intimacy with themselves or with another. And the one we didn't mention is the one specifically for couples. So this is a 4-week series. It's all about cultivating more intimacy, more connection, kind of take you on a little magic carpet ride. Every week there's a whole different world to explore with your partner. And that starts on June 4th, on Tuesday, and it goes for 4 Tuesdays. We can put the links to these events in the comments. And if you have any questions at all, you can put a comment, you can private message me, or you can send an email to info@shemayatantra.com.
Nice. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Great to see you all. Some of you I have not talked to in a long time, so thank you. And I hope this was in some way valuable.
Hey, Nicole Rowe, you should come to the Tantra 101 for goodness sakes.
Yeah, Nicole, I'd love to have you.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thanks,
Take care.
Loris.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just going to take a while to click out. Last chance for questions. Bye. Are you here? Bye.